Hello, everyone. Uh, I know I said I'd do this video, like, closer to the end of December, but, I forgot. So we're doing it now. Using a PowerPoint for this because, it's easy. I actually may have put a little too many details on these slides, but anyway, we're subjectively ranking, the releases from Fox Stevenson in the year 2024. Very professional. Just a forewarning, there are some opinions in here that are quite harsh. Um, because this is my own channel, I'm gonna give my full, raw, uncensored opinions, so they might not be something you like all that much, but that's just how it is, so just keep that in mind. At the very last place spot, oh boy, this is the one that has the harshest opinions, so it gets better from here. But don't know what? Hate it. In my opinion, it's terrible. It is truly a mangled corpse of the original Don't Know What. I won't say that the original Don't Know What was perfect. It needed some work. However, the work that was done here destroyed it. It turned into something that, in my opinion, doesn't know what it's trying to be. It's all the cool sections from the original are axed. Like, the intro is no longer that cool sounding guitar in place of the little bass notes. It's just the bass notes now, and it sounds kind of generic. The transitions in this song, I think, are bad. They are really, really not good. There's clunky transitions all over the place, and I just don't like the sound design, honestly. With the biggest offender being that damn drop lead. I hate it. Holy God. I've honestly, I've tried to give this song a few times to maybe see if I was just being too harsh, and every single time that drop lead just pulls me out of it. It is so flat and so boring. Yeah, out of everything I think this song does wrong, that is the biggest problem. There's also, I mentioned this before, the transitions. Ooh, I hate those very badly. There's an instance where after the second verse with standard drums, it just suddenly cuts into the second build-up with no drums, and it's just completely jarring. And also, the worst transition I think of all in the track is the one that happens between the third build-up and the third drop. It just does not sound right. I can't completely articulate why, but it feels completely wrong. It is just, ugh. Yeah, the notes that it starts on, I think that's probably the issue, is that the notes with the changed third drop are just completely not lined up with I guess maybe the key or the tone of the build-up. I don't know, but it doesn't sound good to me. I put intro here, but that's supposed to be outro. Stan showed a little Sonic-esque sounding outro that was really cool, and it was axed. No good reason. I'm not sure why. The only change that I think is good is that the second verse sounds better. I didn't put this on here, but I thought about this later. I think the bridge is boring. I don't know. There was an earlier version of Don't Know What that I heard that was at a festival quite a while ago that had the little the section after the second drop, instead of just being a B side of the drop, it was the bridge, and I think that sounded awesome. But instead, the bridge that does exist is basically something that's been done tons of times on his songs, just having an earlier verse with no drums and all. Somewhat epic sounding, and it's just boring. it's not always boring when it's done, but I think in this situation it just feels so, like, it's gonna sound harsh, but it sounds like a cop-out. This is really, truly one of the worst modern Fox releases. So I can't give it more than a 0 or a 1 out of 10. And that is a shame, because I do think this one had a lot more potential than it actually ended up using. Alright, less negative opinions ahead. Pieces is the next one. This one is not something I view as inherently bad, but I don't really vibe with it all that much. It's a little... I don't... The first thing that comes to mind is it feels like D&B brand D&B, but it's not that level. It's not that generic at all. It's just not something I really connect with all that much. The whole duet thing is hard to get used to, and that's on me, honestly. But there is one thing I think that is kind of weird and not really done right, and that is that after the end of the second chorus, it has that little drop in there, but that lead in that drop is very quiet. It just doesn't sound right volume-wise, and that's just... It's kind of hard to get into when it's so much... Not so much more quiet, but it's definitely noticeably more quiet than the choruses. My ranking for this one would probably be somewhere between a 4 or 5 out of 10. But unlike with the last one on this list, it's not that low because it's necessarily worthy of being a 4 out of a 4 or 5, but because it's just not something I really... it's not the kind of style of D&B that I really vibe with. 3 is Sorry. I can say that this one is the first of the 2024 releases that I think I actually like, rather than feel kind of, what's the word? I can't think of it right now, but I'll come back to it. It's one that I think is actually enjoyable as opposed to just meh or bad. There is a lot to like with this one. It's got a great length. Oh boy, there's a typo. Length. Oh, great. I should have proofread this, but whatever. Professionalism 100%. It's got a good length to it, and quite a bit of variation, which I think anybody who has been around on my channel for a while will know that I'm quite a fan of varied drops instead of just repeating, and that is especially prevalent when it goes into that insane house section for the last drop, which is a huge risk that was taken, but it did pay off, I think. That is something that I did not expect would ever happen. I kind of always had this feeling that even with variation in these drops, I thought Stan would have played it more safe, but I am glad that he did not. One thing that doesn't really help, in my opinion, of this track is that I do feel like the longer I've had to listen to it, the lead is definitely a little harsh on the ears. It's a little screechy. It's not as bad as some other songs way in the past, like Radar or Hello. Even though I like both of those second drops, they are still pretty screechy. But this one, I find that it's a little hard to, have it mix with the other stuff when it's... This kind of sounds like word vomit, but I just don't love how screechy it is necessarily, but that might not be anything that's applicable to anyone else. That just might be something that, I do have slightly more sensitive hearing, so that's probably just a me thing. I'm not really a big fan of the lyrics, honestly. They feel a little corny. hearing the word homie in the lyrics is a little bit, pulls me out of it a little bit. Not because it's inherently bad, but because it feels corny to me. It's not as corny as Can't Even Tell, in my opinion. That one had way more corny lyrics for me, but just this one's just kind of not my favorite set of lyrics. But that being said, usually I gravitate towards stuff that has lyrics that are more dark or more depressing, or like a little bit less, a bit less like what's in Sorry. So take that as you will. Still, it's probably 7 or 7.5 out of 10. Not bad. Not bad at all. Next one. This is now getting into the ones that I actually think are really good. This one is a total Babinger. You know what? I just realized there's never been a proper pronunciation of that typo, so I guess I'm establishing it now, huh? Babinger? We'll go with that. This one is very catchy. That's something I was finding myself thinking very early on. And the drop design is quite interesting and good. And as a result, there's not really any things I'd complain majorly about. However, there are a lot of heavy hitters in Stan's discography, and I don't really think it could hold up to those. So it's not much higher than an 8 or 8.5. I do have one honorable mention here, and that is Love the Day. And the reason why it's an honorable mention is because it didn't actually release in 2024. I had the impression before I actually started making this video that it was one of the 2024 releases, but came to realize that it's not. And, you know, it's not really fair to truly put it in the ranking when it's not actually technically a 2024 release. It was released like, I think November or December 2023, so that is pretty close to 2024, which is why I thought it was from the same year, but yeah, still won't include it on the actual rankings. However, this is an amazing track. It's up there, really. It's got a good song length, like 5-ish minutes, I think, and a lot of variation, verses that I like. The vocals sound good. The bridge is like one of the best parts, and that third drop is, to put it lightly, it's mental. There is one thing. I don't think the lead in the drops after the first choruses is all that great. It's a little boring, in my opinion. Not the same level of boring and basic as, Don't Know What, but I think it could have been a little bit different or better. Still, it's a solid 9 out of 10, and there are not a lot of those. And now I don't know if this would have been obvious or not, but the number one is Lemonade, by far. This is one of the single best songs, in my opinion, Stan's ever made. It is something I've debated putting in my top 5 or at the very least top 10. It has a very dark sound design throughout, and it has an amazing chorus. And my favorite part about that chorus is that it has these little guitar notes in it that I think are absolutely sublime. I'll go ahead and play a clip of what I mean.
And we're all so fucking sick of our lemons. Yeah, they got so sour, please take them away.
So, also, I think the whole third drop sequence from the build-up to the very end of the song is just truly amazing. It's one I like a lot. And one that I always remember and think about when I think about the song. there could be multiple slides probably of all the things I think this track does really, really well. But I'll save that for another time and just say that this one is a 10 out of 10. An S tier, which is a huge achievement. There are not a whole lot that can do that, and it totally outranks the other 2024 releases, sitting in its own new league of amazing. And that's it. We're done, and go home.